Welcome to the September the 10th, 2002 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie, as we bring you the history of our city. And this is a special month that we celebrate, Hispanic Heritage Month. And we are so pleased to have really the king of our Hispanic territory here in Grand Prairie, Texas, the wonderful superintendent of schools, Dr. David Barbosa, and his beautiful wife Carol with us today for our interview. And this is our history tape number 465, and we're so pleased to welcome them today. Welcome to the set, young man.
Pleasure to be here again.
And Carol, so glad to have you with us today. And it's great to celebrate the 16th of September, which is really Mexico's Independence Day. It's not quite timely. It has about 6 more days to go to get to that point, but we start celebrating the nearest to the 16th of September. And of course, you have been real important to us as our first Hispanic superintendent of schools. And as that, you've made a mark of distinction in many ways. But what we thought we would do today, with your permission, that you'd look out into your camera. We're going to talk with Carol just a little bit later on, but we'd like for you to look out and bring us up to date on the advances that you believe that Grand Prairie has made through your school system leadership and through other ways. And just tell us where we are today in this magic year of 2002. This is your camera.
Well, Ruthie, I think since I arrived here 4 years ago, in fact I started in September of 1998, I've seen a great deal of progress. I don't think necessarily just solely in the school district, but throughout the community. I think all of us are pleased with the direction the community is going in, certainly the growth that we're experiencing, and certainly we're feeling that in the school district. As you know, in September of 99, we passed a $140 million bond package, and we this year are opening the last schools that were a part of that package. We opened Arnold Middle School, the replacement Jackson Middle School, which replaces the old Jackson Middle School, which, as you know, has become the South Grand Prairie High School 9th grade center. So that's a new facility, or a renovated facility. And of course we have the new Grand Prairie High School 9th grade center. So those are facilities that have come online just this fall. You add to that 4 elementary schools that we've opened last year, and a number of renovations and additions that we've had. We've added on to Travis Elementary School, to Fannin Elementary School, to Dickinson Elementary School. So we're feeling that growth throughout the community. And I think as I look at what has taken place over the past 4 years and what it looks like we'll be doing in the future, we don't expect that growth to stop. So we have to continue to project in the future what our student enrollment will be, and look at what additional kinds of facilities we're going to need to accommodate that growth. Beyond that, I think we've made some excellent academic progress in our educational programs. Just this past few months, the academic ratings for our school district came out, and both of our high schools are recognized high schools, and we feel very positive about that. Have a number of elementary schools that are recognized, and Powell, of course, is our kind of our lighthouse. It's the exemplary school, but we feel very confident that within the next year we're going to have probably 4 or 5 additional exemplary schools. The Texas accountability ratings are an interesting phenomenon because obviously you have to set a standard and you have to set a mark, and in our case we had probably 4 or 5 elementary schools that fell just below that exemplary mark, and of course are recognized. But we think next time that the TOS ratings come out, we're going to make some excellent progress. Beyond that, I think we've established a number of pupil support programs that we think are helpful, trying to focus on the youngsters who are at risk, who obviously are having academic problems, and who come to us with, unfortunately, some baggage. You know, broken homes, they live in areas that are not the healthiest, come to us new into the country, and obviously bring some barriers with them. But we're working at trying to accommodate those students. If they come to us speaking Spanish, for example, we have some programs that address them and help them make the transition from Spanish to English so that they can be successful as they move through their academic programming.
Wonderful. I attended Travis Elementary last evening when we had a neighborhood revitalization meeting there. And when I walked into Travis at their new entrance off of 15th Street, I walked in and here was this lion, this Jefferson lion staring me in the face. And as I proceeded on into the cafeteria where we held our meeting, everything was lions, but it was the Travis lions. And that was very exciting to me because we had two daughters that went through Fannin, then on to Jefferson. And Lee and around the mulberry bush. And whatever happened to Jefferson?
Well, as you know, Jefferson was located right next to Travis,
yes.
And with the opening of the new middle schools and the expansion of Lee Middle School,
yes.
Jefferson became part of the Travis Elementary School facility.
Yes, it did.
And so it's kind of a merging of those two schools, and as you experience, as you've just related, we've tried to merge some elements and pieces of both of those schools together to become one school.
That is a huge elementary. It is a fine school now.
It is large. We have significant space in there to accommodate growth, and as you know, that's an area of town where there is significant growth taking place. And you're absolutely right. I think the renovation was done very nicely, and it's kind of they fit them together very nicely, and it's a very, very nice facility.
I've heard some very exciting things, though, that the school is doing to encourage the parents, the non-English speaking parents, and some of the programs that you have for them. I'd like for you to talk a little bit about some of the things you provide for them that's over and above educating the kids.
Well, as you indicate, and Travis obviously is the hub of what we're doing in the area of parent involvement and parent education. As you know, that's where a substantial number of our Hispanic families live, and as I've already indicated a few minutes ago, many of them speak only Spanish.
Yes.
Certainly they want their children to be successful in school. They want their children to make the transition from Spanish to English. And what we've found, and I think what the research tells us, Ruthie, is that if we can get the parents into the school and if we can get them involved in their children's education, that the children are going to be successful in school. So we have a parent involvement center where we bring parents in, we provide them with information in Spanish relative to the program their children are in, what their academic programs are, how they can follow the progress of their children. We're also providing, for example, English classes for those parents, yes, because we think that's important, and certainly they can then begin to fit into the community much better, and they can find employment and certainly, I think, progress themselves. We're also looking at how we can help them with other kinds of needs that they have, with some of their education beyond just learning English. We're setting up some GED classes for those that are interested. We're setting up computer classes so that they can learn how to use technology, which again we think is to their advantage.
What percent now of boys and girls in the schools are Hispanic or related?
We have approximately 53% of our student population that is of Hispanic origin.
How are you coming along on getting teachers to complement those?
Well, that's very difficult. As you
was that a good question?
It was an excellent question because school districts all over the state of Texas and certainly all around the country are looking for bilingual teachers, yes, people who speak both English and Spanish, but who also are trained to deliver education in bilingual classrooms. So we're competing not only with people here in the metro area, but we're competing with other people in other districts in the state of Texas as well as across the country. So it's very difficult, and we certainly don't have as many bilingual teachers as we'd like to have, but we're out there trying and we're recruiting. And as we recruit, obviously the next most important thing becomes making sure that we retain those teachers. We don't want them leaving us after they've been with us for a year. And we find if we help them acclimate to the community and we introduce them to some people who they can establish some relationships with, that goes a long ways towards keeping them in the school district.
I know that the city, in its interest, is very interested in working with you in a comparable way. And I noticed that we have a huge new soccer field that's being built out south of town, but we have a ready-made one from the old Navy base land that is north of 180. And I noticed every Sunday morning there are just bukus of young people out there, and predominantly Hispanic. And I think it's really wonderful that they have found a place on our side of town, speaking on the north side of town, lovingly, that they have a place that the city is providing for them too. And how you get along with the city or with your growth that way?
Well, we have an excellent relationship with the city, and we appreciate Mr. Hart, and we appreciate the mayor and the city council for the joint partnerships that we've established. As you know, we have the after-school child care program that the city and the school district and the Y deliver jointly. That we find has been a success, and as you know, we've expanded that every year to some other schools because we have widespread participation. We've also, as you know, been working with the city in terms of where the growth is occurring and trying to look at where we might locate schools in the future. Last month, the board approved the purchase of property way out south on Camp Wisdom for another elementary school site because there's going to be significant growth there. Thursday evening, we'll be taking to the board another purchase of school property, a school site somewhere around a little bit west of Warrior Trail and Robinson Road, because again, that's an area where there's a great deal of growth taking place. So I know that Mr. Jimerson works very closely with Mr. Miller and other people with the city to make sure that our planning is done collaboratively, and we agree on what direction we need to take.
I think that is one of the most exciting things. Now, you're celebrating the 100th birthday of the schools. Not many Hispanics were in our school system all of these years. In 1931, and 32 and 33, I went to a county school here, which is outside the boundaries of the Grand Prairie ISD at that time, and we had one family of Hispanics in our little two-room school, and I'm researching to try to find out their last name. I know the two kids' names, but that's as much as, but you know, we have lost some of the things that were very meaningful to us. And I'm so glad that y'all are pulling history together so that you can go back and bring us up to snuff on things like that. How long of a celebration do you plan to have?
Well, we're planning to celebrate through the end of this year. As you know, it went from 1902 is when the school district was established here in Grand Prairie to obviously 2002. There will be kind of a combination celebration, character counts, arts fest activity this coming Saturday. And my understanding is that we will have birthday cake available for celebrating the 100th year anniversary for all those folks who attend that. As you know, the district is presently planning a dinner celebration in November. And we're hoping that we'll have someone of significant notoriety who will come and speak at that dinner. And we'll be inviting, obviously, all of the community to participate in that activity. And Mr. Buckmeyer, who's our Director of Communications, is pulling together a history of the Grand Prairie schools that we will have printed and published, and we will be selling to those who are interested in knowing what the
that'll raise funds for the foundation, won't it?
That's what we're hoping to do, exactly. Good. To sell those to put money into the foundation for the benefit of our students.
That's great. Could I let you rest a moment?
Absolutely.
Let's talk to Carol just a minute. Carol, I know you're having a wonderful experience. You've been in Grand Prairie 4 years. Just look out into your camera and tell us a little about Carol, what she thinks about Grand Prairie, and how you really have gotten involved in the community. An artist of great note, and you just really show off some of the other artists in town with your beautiful work. But we'd like for you to do that at this time and tell us just something personally about how it is to be in the household with a young man that has brought so much wonderful change to Grand Prairie. Let's do some kudos to him at this time, okay?
Well, it's been a wonderful experience to be here, and a growing experience for myself, as well as meeting a lot of really wonderful people here in Grand Prairie. And I particularly have met some very wonderful women over at the Women's Club here in Grand Prairie, and they have welcomed me with open arms. And I've also gotten involved with visual arts quite a bit here in Grand Prairie, and that's been wonderful. And yes, I am proud of my husband. Yes. And he just keeps going. I'm just amazed at him, how he can just keep going and going and going. And
like the battery operated yes. things on television that don't wind down, right?
Right. He just is very involved, and I'm amazed at him at times.
Yes, and you have a family, and they did not get to come with you to Grand Prairie, Texas. Bring us up to date on your family.
Okay. Our son is presently living in Rhode Island, and
that's so far away.
Right, it is. It's very far away, and he's working with children in that part of the country that have special problems. Yes. And he is very sensitive to their needs and how their family interacts with them. And our daughter is working in Chicago at a university there and taking some classes.
Oh, that is just really great. Mm-hmm. And I know that, do you have any sights on anything in the future? Like, would you ever teach art classes for the Arts Council or do something wonderful like that in your art field?
Well, I have taught art in the past, but mm-hmm. I am not really looking at that right now, at teaching. I am interested in showing artwork yes. in the city of Grand Prairie, and presently I've been working with a group of artists on Wednesday morning. We call ourselves Wednesday Morning Painters, and we are showing our artwork in various places in the city of Grand Prairie. And that's really been a wonderful experience.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Are you involved at all in the celebration of the 100th birthday of the Grand Prairie ISD?
I go with my husband.
You are his escort?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. All right. We're going to let you, we just thank you so much for being here to aid and abet and to support Dr. Barbosa, because you really have to share him with a lot of folks.
That's right.
Yes, you do. And I know that he is gone so much of the time, and we appreciate you being so generous with him. But we need to get back with you, Dr. Barbosa. What do you see on the horizon for the development, any future development that you have that will help the Hispanic community as you look forward to the future for them?
Well, absolutely, Ruthie. As you know, the demographics in Grand Prairie yes. are changing, and our Hispanic population continues to grow. And as that happens, we know that a large percentage of the Hispanic population come to us recently from Mexico or from some other Central or South American country, and they come with, with some barriers to fitting in immediately. If they come speaking only Spanish, then obviously it's critical for them to learn to speak English. Yes. And our programs more and more are geared towards that growing population, making sure that as we enroll those youngsters, we're able to educate them and help them make that transition. We also recognize that they come oftentimes with some economic barriers. Perhaps they're not able to afford health insurance, or not able to afford other things that many of us take for granted. And so in that regard, we have a responsibility. We have some social workers who obviously work on behalf of the school district, but also work to help those people make the connections with agencies that can help them. If they're needing food, we have agencies that we can call on. If they need clothing, we have agencies that we can call on. So I think it's important to make sure that those people's needs are being met beyond education. And there are a lot of agencies in Grand Prairie that can help them, but it's just a matter of educating those new immigrants about how they might be able to access some of those resources. Beyond that, I think we have to continue to make sure that as our students progress through the school system, that we're providing them with the kind of support that will ensure that they don't fail. Too many of our students, drop out, and as I told my staff at Convocation a few weeks ago, that even one person dropping out of school is a failure on our part, and so we have to make sure that we don't lose students and that they are able to finish their education, graduate from Grand Prairie schools.
In attending the convocation that was at the next stage, I was appalled to see that you filled up the entire complex with teachers, new teachers, retired teachers, and etc. That was one of the most exciting. If a bomb had fallen on next stage, we would have been in real
We would have lost all of our educators, Ruthie.
Yeah, that was such a tremendous sight to behold from the stage, looking out over that entire audience. I was really proud of Grand Prairie, Texas, and some of the people. How many new teachers did you have this time?
We had somewhere around 300 new teachers that we inducted into the school system this fall. And of course, totally, in terms of total staff, we have somewhere around 2,800 staff members. So that includes teachers, it includes administrators, it includes our clerical staff, our auxiliary staff, custodians, food service workers, our plumbers, our electricians, all of the people that work to keep the school district operational.
I noticed that you have fruit basket turned over to some of the new principals and assistant principals. I get a list from Mr. Sam so that I can evaluate and find some wonderful people to have on this television show. And I noticed that there's some brand new names there. You've gone almost out of the territory to get some of your new principals.
Well, in some cases we have, but the majority of the folks who have been put into leadership positions, either principals or assistant principals, are from within the system. And one of the things when I came to the district 4 years ago, we recognized that we needed to have a training program for teachers who were interested in going to administration. So we established that kind of a program, and we put them into an internship, and they work in that internship for 2 years, working with one of our seasoned principals. And at that point in time, then they're ready to move into a leadership position. So many of the new principals are from within the system. We did hire, I think, only one principal from outside the system, a lady by the name of Leslie Cantrell, who came to us from Grapevine, Colleyville, very highly recommended. She is the new principal at Adams Middle School and doing a fine job for us. But again, most of those people are people who have been in the system in our internship program, and we're ready for our leadership. I did move some of our principals to other schools. During the course of the year, we sit down and visit with them, and if they've been there for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years, quite honestly, they're ready for a new challenge.
Yes.
And they tell me that I'm ready for another school, and we make that possible for them.
That's wonderful. All right, we may be treading on dangerous ground.
Could be.
You have a wonderful school board, and it's just pretty well balanced. And they seem like they're pretty happy with you. And tell me your evaluation of that you can do on public television of your school board.
Well, Ruthie,
Just about a minute, because I want you to talk to the parents in a second.
Ruthie, I think you're absolutely correct, and I will tell you that I think I've worked with a number of school boards in the past, and the individuals that I work with on the school board are the best group of people that I've worked with, bar none. They work together well. They don't always agree with each other, but they do so respectfully, and they agree to disagree. And the most important thing is that they have the youngsters' best educational interests in mind. That's what they're focused on. They're not concerned about themselves, advancing themselves, publicity. I think they're really focused on what's important, and that's what's best for kids.
Now, this is your camera. I want you to talk with the parents in Grand Prairie. Anything you would like to say for about 3.5 minutes, unless you want to give a half minute to Carol. Close out.
I'll give her 2 or 3 minutes
No,
if she wants.
we want you to talk to the parents. You're the big dog on campus here to speak with the parents.
Well, I think what I'd like to say is that, number one, I appreciate the fact that I'm able to be here in Grand Prairie and to provide service to this community, in particular to the Grand Prairie Independent School District. What I would say to parents and members of the community is that I think we have a very fine school system. We're working very hard to make it even better. But to do that, we need your involvement. And one of the things that I think is traditional, that as youngsters come into the school setting, parents have a very difficult time letting their children go at the elementary level. They come to school, they bring them, they make sure they pick them up. But as children grow up, they detach themselves from the youngsters. I would suggest that in this day and time, that it's just as important for parents to keep that relationship and keep that oversight of their children as they go to middle school and as they go to high school, because there are a lot of things out there that I think can negatively influence our young people. So what I say to parents is please don't separate yourself from your youngsters and their education as they grow older. I would suggest that you need to be just as involved and make sure that you're tracking what your children are doing from an educational perspective on a daily basis. Make sure that you're asking the right questions about what kind of progress they're making. Don't hesitate at all to communicate with the teachers that your children have, with the administrators. If you have a question, if you have a concern, if you have feedback that you want to give us, we would welcome that.
And he has a magic telephone number at the Grand Prairie ISD ad building, and that is 972-264-6141. And that gets you to Aline, and she is a wonderful telephone person and will get you to the right person, and she has helped me tremendously. And Mr. Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Barbosa, it's just been really wonderful to have y'all with us. And we're so thankful for Carol, because not only does she aid and abet you, but she adds to the quality of life considerably to Grand Prairie through her work at the Women's Club and other avenues, and especially the artwork that she does. And we're looking forward some of these days to be able to afford one of her magic paintings that we see here and there and around town. And I want to thank you for everything you do for kids.
Thank you.
And thank you, Carol, for being here with us today.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.